Hi, my name is Emily Parker, and I'm 32 years old. I know what you're thinking, another hard life story, but stick with me, because this one, well, it's about betrayal, ambition, and the kind of revenge you don't see coming. It all started the summer I turned 22. My younger sister, Samantha, had just graduated high school with honors, and she had dreams, big, impossible dreams. She wanted to go to an Ivy League school. I wanted her to succeed, so badly that I didn't stop to think about the cost. I was working 3 jobs at the time. Days started at 5 a.m. at the coffee shop, where I wiped down counters while pretending I didn't notice the way my hands shook from exhaustion. Then I'd rush to the diner on 11th Street, flipping eggs, taking orders, forcing a smile I didn't feel. By night, I was a server at a small bar downtown, the kind of place where you see every kind of desperation imaginable. I was exhausted. My feet ached. My soul ached. But every dollar I earned, every extra shift I took, was for Sam's tuition. She didn't know the full price I was paying, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I liked it that way. I remember the day I handed her the envelope with the first check for her tuition. She looked at me with those wide, trusting eyes, the ones that made your heart ache in a good way. "Emily, I can't believe you did this," she whispered, hugging me tight. Her voice was full of awe, full of love, and in that moment, I thought I had done something right. Something meaningful. But life has a way of twisting the knife where you least expect it. A few months into her freshman year, I started hearing whispers. From mutual friends, from strangers I barely knew, all pointing out that I could never keep a job or that I was stuck in dead-end work. My heart sank. At first, I brushed it off, people talk, right? But then, one afternoon, my best friend called me in tears. "Emily, I don't know how to say this. Sam told everyone you're a failure. She said you never amounted to anything and that you're just dragging yourself through life, working 3 meaningless jobs." The words hit me like a brick. I froze. My hands trembled. I couldn't breathe. I remember sitting on my old, beaten couch, staring at the carpet as if it held the answers. I kept asking myself, why? Why would she say that? Every dollar, every sleepless night, every blister and ache, it was for her. And she called me a failure. To everyone. To people who mattered. I tried to confront her over the phone. My voice was shaking, barely above a whisper. "Samantha, why would you say that about me? After everything I've done for you?" There was silence on the other end. And then, almost casually, "I didn't say anything to hurt you. I just said what I had to." What you had to? What does that even mean? My words caught in my throat. Anger and disbelief twisted inside me. "I sacrificed everything for you." She didn't answer. She never did. And that was when I realized, the people you save, the ones you love most, can sometimes be the ones who hurt you the deepest. For months, I wallowed. I worked harder, cried alone, and felt a gnawing emptiness. Every time someone brought up Sam's achievements or my so-called failures, I felt a little piece of myself crumble. But somewhere in that pain, a fire began to grow. I wasn't going to let this break me. I refused to be the failure she said I was. I started late-night studying, taking business classes online while still juggling my jobs. I networked quietly, learning the tricks of the trade, absorbing every lesson my bosses could teach me. I was exhausted, yes, but I was building something. Something that no one, not even Sam, would ever see coming years past. I was relentless. I climbed the corporate ladder, took risks, made strategic moves. People started noticing me not because of who I knew, but because of what I could do. And then, one evening, I got a LinkedIn notification. Sam. She had messaged me, "Emily, I need your help. I'm struggling." I stared at the screen, my coffee cooling in my hands, my heart thundering. My first instinct was disbelief. My second was laughter. The little girl who once called me a failure now had the audacity to ask me for help. I smiled. I didn't type. I didn't respond immediately. I just sat there, thinking of all those nights I spent exhausted, all the sacrifices no one knew about, all the words she had whispered behind my back. And then I typed, with calm precision, "Ask the failure again." And hit send. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence sink in. For the first time in years, I felt free. After that message from Sam, I knew things had shifted. But I didn't want immediate confrontation. I wanted power, control, and the satisfaction of watching her realize what she'd lost. I had spent years building a life that no one could ignore, and now, for the first time, I could see it taking shape. I started small, of course. I used the savings I'd squirreled away from my 3 jobs, every extra shift, every tip, every penny, to invest in a tiny startup that made custom software for local businesses. Most people would have thought I was crazy, a former bar server starting a tech company with barely enough capital to pay rent. But I didn't care about their doubts. I thrived on proving myself, on every failure label they'd ever slapped on me. I spent nights coding, negotiating, designing, and dreaming. I worked harder than I ever had at the diner or the coffee shop. The smell of stale coffee and the hum of my old laptop became my constant companions. Every rejection from investors, every late-night email demanding results, fueled me. I was no longer just surviving, I was strategizing, building a name that people would eventually respect. No fear. Then came my first big break. A mid-sized company was struggling with outdated software and approached me after hearing a friend of theirs whisper about the genius who was once the town's waitress. I laughed when I heard it, but I took the meeting. I didn't just sell them a service, I solved problems they didn't even realize they had. By the end of the pitch, the CEO was shaking my hand like I was some kind of miracle worker. That's when I realized, power wasn't just about money. It was about perception, influence, and timing. And I was learning to wield all 3 with surgical precision. Meanwhile, Sam. I didn't see her for years. I heard whispers occasionally. Her college was going well, she had internships, parties, boyfriends, but I kept my distance. She had burned her bridges with me once. She wasn't getting a second chance, not yet. The fire of betrayal had not cooled. In fact, it grew hotter with each success story I read about her in passing. I remember one night, working late in my tiny office with the city lights casting long shadows across the walls, thinking about the contrast between us. She had the life I sacrificed for, the carefree existence I had denied myself, and yet she had lied, humiliated me, and claimed I was worthless. I clenched my fists, feeling a dark thrill in imagining the day when she'd have to crawl to me for help. Years went by, and my startup grew. Small contracts became larger ones. I hired a team of talented, hungry people, and together we turned a tiny software company into a respected, growing business. Every new client, every successful project, added to my reputation. People started to talk about the Emily Parker turnaround, the girl who was supposed to be a failure but became unstoppable. And then it happened. I was offered the CEO position at a larger, national tech company. The irony wasn't lost on me. A company that had overlooked me, a company that would have once laughed at my ambitions, now wanted me to lead them. I accepted, of course, without hesitation. The news traveled fast. Within weeks, my name was on headlines, my face in magazines, my story circulating in business circles as a rags to riches tale, and somewhere in that whirlwind of success, Sam's name appeared again. She had reached out to me on LinkedIn, tentatively at first, then desperately. Emily, I don't know what to do. My internship fell through, my student loans are piling up, and I think I need your advice. I didn't respond right away. I poured a glass of wine, sat back in my leather chair, and let her words sink in. She was finally on the other side of life, the side I had clawed my way to while she had simply floated along, believing everything would fall into place for her. Then I smiled. A slow, deliberate smile. A smile that carried years of exhaustion, heartbreak, and determination. And I typed, calmly, with the precision of a surgeon, ask the failure again. I didn't just want her to ask. I wanted her to realize the irony, to feel the sting of her earlier betrayal. And trust me, she would. That night, I sat back and reflected on my journey. I wasn't the same scared, overworked young woman who had given everything for her sister. I was stronger, wiser, and more dangerous than I had ever imagined. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving, on my own terms. But the story wasn't over. I knew the real test was yet to come, how Sam would react, and how I would choose to handle her. Would I give in? Would I forgive? Or would I finally let her understand the full weight of her betrayal? One thing was certain: when I finally faced her, nothing would ever be the same. It had been months since Sam sent that desperate message. I could have ignored her, truly. I could have, but curiosity got the better of me. And, honestly, there was something intoxicating about holding the upper hand, about watching the person who once humiliated you squirm under the weight of their own missteps. Our first meeting was awkward, to say the least. She showed up at my office, dressed neatly, professional, but there was an air of nervousness about her that betrayed her confidence. She tried to walk in like she owned the place, but I saw the subtle tremble in her hands, the flicker of doubt in her eyes. And I felt nothing but calm. "Emily, thank you for seeing me," she began, her voice soft, hesitant. I gestured to the chair across from my polished oak desk, letting her sit before I even glanced at her resume. "Of course," I said casually, sipping my coffee. "I got your message. Sounds like things are complicated." I let the words hang in the air, heavy with meaning. She fidgeted with the strap of her bag. I made some mistakes. I didn't plan well, and now I'm kind of at a loss. I thought maybe you could help me figure things out." I leaned back, fingers laced, eyes on her. Figuring things out, huh? Funny. I remember a time when someone thought I couldn't figure anything out. When someone told everyone I was a failure. "You called me a failure, Sam." "To everyone." Her eyes widened, and she swallowed hard. Emily, no. Don't interrupt," I said firmly. My voice was calm, but every syllable carried the weight of years spent sacrificing, clawing, and grinding myself into the ground for her benefit. "I sacrificed everything so you could chase your dreams. I worked 3 jobs while you slept in, studied, partied, laughed, and then you went around telling everyone I was a failure. Everyone. You left me with nothing but exhaustion, humiliation, and the label of incompetence." Her lips quivered. She looked like she might cry, and for a second, I almost felt sorry for her. But only for a second. I didn't think," she started. "You didn't think?" I echoed, my voice dropping an octave, a subtle threat hidden beneath my composed tone. "You didn't think I'd notice? You didn't think all those late nights, all those missed birthdays, all the blood, sweat, and tears I poured into your future would mean anything? You called me a failure, Sam. And now, you want my help." The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the city outside. She swallowed again, voice barely above a whisper. "Emily, please. I've messed up. I need your guidance." I smiled again. That slow, deliberate smile I'd perfected over the years. It wasn't cruel, it was the satisfaction of someone who had been underestimated, doubted, and wronged, finally reclaiming her power. "Ask the failure again," I said softly, almost gently, letting the irony land like a stone in her stomach. She froze. Her mouth opened, then closed. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. The weight of every lie she'd told, every betrayal, hit her in that moment. I watched her squirm, not out of malice, but because justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it whispers, calm and unstoppable, until it's too late. "Emily. I didn't mean I don't care what you meant, Sam. I don't. You made your choices. I made mine. And look at us now." I gestured to my office, to the title on my business card, to the reputation I had built with blood and sweat. I didn't ask for anyone's validation. I didn't ask for anyone to believe in me, including you. And now, I'm here. You're here. And you need me. Funny how the roles reverse, isn't it? She looked away, guilt washing over her face, her hands clutching the strap of her bag so tightly it was turning her knuckles white. I stood, walking around my desk, closing the distance between us in slow, deliberate steps. "I won't lie, I could help you. I could mentor you. I could give you what I gave you before, but this time, you'll earn it. Not me giving it away. Not me paying your way. You'll have to prove that you're worth it." Her eyes met mine, and I could see the desperation there. The same desperation I had felt when I was young, overworked, unseen, and unheard. And yet, she hadn't learned the first lesson. Respect comes from action, not entitlement. I understand, she whispered. I nodded. "Good. Then maybe there's hope for you. But remember, Sam, this is the difference between us. I turned every insult, every setback, every lie against me into fuel. You just floated along, thinking the world owed you success. It doesn't. And now, you've asked the failure again. She left my office that day, humbled, shaken, aware for the first time of the consequences of her actions. I didn't gloat, didn't mock, didn't revel in her discomfort, at least, not openly. I simply watched, quietly, as the seeds of her reckoning began to grow, and as I returned to my desk, the hum of the city a gentle reminder of everything I had fought for, I realized something important. Revenge isn't just about the other person. It's about reclaiming yourself, standing tall, and never letting anyone make you feel small again. That I was no longer the failure Sam had labeled me. I was Emily Parker, CEO, survivor, and architect of my own destiny. And that, more than anything, was my ultimate triumph. After that confrontation with Sam, life settled into a new rhythm, but it wasn't the kind of rhythm you notice immediately. It was subtle, quiet, but unmistakably satisfying. I didn't need her approval. I didn't need anyone's applause. I had built something that no one could take away from me, my own success, my own identity, my own power. Weeks passed after our meeting. I watched from a distance as Sam struggled, fumbling with internships, dealing with student loans, and scrambling to catch up in ways she'd never had to before. And I didn't interfere. Not directly. I let her face the consequences of her choices. Every mistake she made was a reminder of the years I'd spent giving everything for someone who never appreciated it, and yet, I couldn't deny a strange mixture of relief and pity. I wasn't cruel, I was just completed. My journey had transformed me. I had learned patience, perseverance, and the value of self-respect. I had learned that revenge doesn't need to be loud or humiliating, it can be simple, quiet, and infinitely satisfying. That I spent my days leading my company, mentoring employees, and expanding our reach nationwide. My nights were still long, filled with planning, strategizing, dreaming, but now, I dreamed for myself, not for someone else. Every contract signed, every successful project, every milestone reached reminded me that I had created a life no one could define as failure. Then came an unexpected email. It wasn't from Sam. It was from someone in her network, a mutual acquaintance. Emily, I have to say, your story is incredible. I heard what happened with Sam. I can't believe how you handled it. You're an inspiration. I smiled, leaning back in my chair. That one message was worth more than any recognition I could have asked for. I didn't need the applause from the world, I had my own validation. I had built myself from the ground up. I had turned betrayal into triumph, and finally, there was Sam. A year later, she sent another message. This time, it was different. Emily, I've been trying to find my way, and I realize now how wrong I was. I don't expect anything from you, but thank you for showing me what it means to truly work for something. I stared at the message for a long time. For the first time, I felt closure. I typed a simple reply, "Good luck, Sam. Make it count." No anger. No gloating. Just calm, firm, unshakable resolve. Because that's what I had earned. That's who I had become. Looking back, I realize now that my life wasn't just about proving Sam wrong. It was about proving to myself that I mattered, that I could overcome every insult, every betrayal, every sleepless night, and create something extraordinary. That I worked 3 jobs to pay for my sister's dreams, only to have her call me a failure. But I didn't just survive, I thrived. I turned the label they gave me into a badge of honor. I became a CEO, a leader, a woman who knows her worth. And the best part? I didn't need anyone else to tell me that revenge, I learned, isn't always about retribution. Sometimes, it's about rising above, letting your success speak for itself, and smiling quietly when the world finally sees what you've always known. You are unstoppable. As I sit in my office, overlooking the city lights, I sometimes think about those long nights at the diner, the bar, the coffee shop. I think about the sacrifices, the exhaustion, the pain, and I smile. Not because I'm proud of suffering, but because I endured it. And in enduring, I became more than I ever imagined I could. So, to anyone who's been told they're a failure, who's been betrayed by someone they loved, who's been underestimated or dismissed, remember this: your power isn't in their validation. It's in your determination, your resilience, and your ability to rise. Because when you do, you're unstoppable. And that is exactly what I am.